Hello and welcome to Women in Retail Talks. I'm Ashley Taradio, Senior Content Strategist at the Women in Retail Leadership Circle, and today I'm joined by Dee Shaw, founder of Monkees, a high-end luxury lifestyle boutique that offers the ultimate selection of quality shoes, clothing, and accessory products. Today we're going to be talking about how Monkees has managed to grow throughout the pandemic and how they've established a living room culture that has fostered the brand's reputation and growth over the last 25 years, plus so much more. So Dee, thanks for joining me today.
Sure, glad to.
So I gave a brief introduction, but can you tell us a little bit more about Monkees and how it started? I know you went from writing your business plan on a napkin and now you have 30 locations and are celebrating your 25th anniversary. So I'd love to learn more about the journey.
Well, I started at almost 26 years ago. And I started it, I was a rep on the road for Armani sunglasses, and I worked mainly out of New York, and I married a fella in Wilmington. And of course that, traveling was not part of the plan. So I needed to find something that would, that I had an interest in. And I've always wanted to open a clothing store, but I wasn't really sure that I wanted to pretty much dedicate that much time to something. But make a long story short, my husband is a businessman, and he kind of encouraged me to continue seeking after that path or dream that I had. So he used to make me sit on the corners of certain intersections in Wilmington to count cars, to figure out where I wanted to be at a location in Wilmington. So he was a big inspiration behind the push of Monkees. I decided I would open at that point in time, it was a shoe store. I decided to open a shoe store, and I was pregnant with my first child. So at that point in time, my partner, which is now Brenda Moretti, who's always been my partner since she was actually my first store that opened up. But she became my partner 3 years after she was in business as a Monkees. So she came in the store and she asked me if I'd be interested in partnering with her and opening a store. And I was literally probably a day from delivering my child. And I was like, heck no. And I went home and I was laughing about it, and I told my husband, and he's like, well, wait a minute, that might be a good idea. We could license it, and you could mentor people and take a percentage, a royalty of their sales. So that's kind of how it all came about. She was, again, my first store that opened up. She stayed in business as a Monkees for 3 years. After her 3 years was up, she asked me if I would be interested in partnering. I was pregnant with my second child at that time, and I said yes. So we partnered. Her husband was an attorney, and an amazing attorney. He's left this world now, but he was an amazing man. And he literally wrote it on a napkin, like you said. Our partnership was written down on a napkin. And in the 26 years that we've been in business, or 25 and a half, we've never had a crossword. We've never had an argument. We might have disagreed to agree on something that was beneficial for the whole organization. And truly, it's been a love affair for both of us from the time we started it together. It's a little bit about.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So currently the Monkees executive team is actively pursuing new franchises and is expanding into new markets. And this is during a time when not many retailers are able to grow. Can you talk to us a little bit about how Monkees still managed to expand despite the COVID-19 pandemic and kind of what that looked like?
Sure. So we have had great success through the pandemic, and we are truly blessed by all that. And I think really why we've had success is for a couple reasons. The first reason, I think there's been a huge push in the fact that after this pandemic, people want to be their own boss, so to speak. They want to have their own identity. They want to do something that makes them happy. And the corporate world is great. I was in the corporate world for years. And I think that the corporate world has changed a lot, and that has given us the foot up, so to speak, in expanding our business. Our business plan is amazing. And we've always told our prospects that we can teach you business. We can't teach you passion. And if you have passion for something, this business in particular, um, that is worth more than anything. I can teach you how to sell something, but if you don't love what you do, then it's not what you're going to want to do long term. And I think we really have capitalized on that statement that you go to work and you love what you do. And we push that when we see, or when we have prospects that come to us. We actually really try to make it a family. We all go out at market together. We all share ideas together. We all do a buy together. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the buys are consistent amongst each store. They're different, but each person is willing to share what they've learned from another line. And that in itself is so much information that we've already taken for the new person coming in on board, that I really think that is why our business has expanded the way it is, because it is something that the girls that are in it truly love it. And that's what we really look for, people that have a passion for something like this.
Now, that kind of leads me to my next question. You mentioned passion, but what else do you look for in an entrepreneur who's interested in partnering and bringing a Monkee's boutique to their city? Maybe what's some criteria and even personality traits that makes them a good fit?
Well, if somebody comes to us and says, I just want something that I can do myself and it will be easy, and I don't have to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning and leave at 10 o'clock at night, that's not who I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody that is passionate, hardworking. They understand that you have to get down into the trenches a lot, and you have to those people saying go to work from 9 to 5. This isn't a 9 to 5 job. This is a 24-hour job. It's something that you own. It's something that you have dedicated yourself to, your bank account to, your family to. There are lots of our store owners that have families and that have multiple stores, and that itself is very challenging to try to juggle all that. So I'm always looking for somebody that is willing to put in a lot of sweat equity along with the passion that they have for the industry.
That's great. So let's shift gears a little bit. Monkee's has established what you call a living room culture. Can you talk about what makes that so appealing to consumers and makes it different than other boutiques?
So my mom was actually the one that actually established that. My mom used to have antiques, and she used to her house was she was an antique dealer. Her house was very open, or our house was very open, and she had, if you walked into our house at any time, my mom was probably sitting in the back room in her study, and she would invite you into that area. And it was just what we decided that was going to be our direction, would be a living room feel where you could come in with a cup of coffee, and you can sit down and you can laugh, you can cry, you can share, things that maybe you wouldn't want to tell somebody else. We've kind of always joked about being a little bit of a psychiatrist along with a salesperson on the floor. But we really have made it where if you want to come in after you work out, or you've played tennis, or you've gone for a run, and you want to walk in with a cup of coffee, or better yet, a glass of wine, our door is always open. And I feel like that is kind of a lot different than a lot of other stores where maybe it could be a little standoffish. We've kind of preached to our staff and to our family. I don't really like to call them staff, I like to call them more like a family. We've preached to them that you don't know what's going to come through that door, in the sense of how you can change that person's life when they walk in. They might have just lost their mother. They might be going through a divorce. They might be pregnant with their first child. It could be happy, it can be sad, all of the above, but you never know what's behind so-called that face. And there's really no room to be ugly. There's really no room to be sliding in any way. So I feel like that has made us more of a living room feel, in the sense that people feel comfortable when they walk in our door. We don't want them to feel like it is a little too high end for them, because we're not. We carry everything from a $2 card to a Louis Vuitton pocketbook. So we want everybody to feel at home when they walk through the door. And that's always been my philosophy.
I love that. And so, though the in-store experience is crucial to Monkee's culture, has the brand utilized e-commerce and social media at all recently, especially since e-commerce is bigger than ever right now?
Yeah, our e-commerce business, we had to adapt like everybody else did during the pandemic. And if we didn't have an e-commerce site, we surely didn't make your store have one, but we surely encouraged them to make sure that they did have one. And they did. Most all of our stores, went to our corporate team was amazing. Let me put that first. Our corporate team went from having probably about 5 stores out of all of our stores to every one of our stores having an e-commerce. So they had to literally work around the clock to get e-commerces set up for all the individual stores. A lot of our sales have come from e-commerce. The average percent of the sales are from e-commerce are probably anywhere from 10 to 20% on some of our stores. Our top e-commerce store is 38%. So everybody, the average across the board is probably about 26, but I would say that all of our stores have capitalized on e-commerce, and e-commerce is not easy. I mean, I'm sure you girls are pretty much aware of what it takes to have an e-commerce site. And I used to call it hiding behind a trash can until someone found you, because literally and truly, you're competing with the whole world. So it becomes a little difficult, but our stores have done an amazing job, and our corporate team has done even more so in getting everybody up and going on their e-commerce sites.
Yeah, that's so true about how you're competing with the whole world. So at Women in Retail, we love women supporting women and building each other up. I thought we could end with some advice that you might have for entrepreneurs who are just starting out and launching their businesses, especially during this unusual time.
Well, the biggest thing that I could say, and my husband told me this years ago, if you love what you do, you never go to work. And that's why I preach passion. That's why I try to preach kindness. And if I was to give anybody any advice, which I'm not really sure that I'm the person to give advice, but I would truly advise them to, everybody says follow their dream. Sometimes following your dream might be unattainable. I don't know what everybody's dream is, but I can honestly say, if you have passion for something and you love doing it, you'll never go to work. And that is something that I remain firm on day in and day out. So if there's anything I could tell somebody, would be to find something that you're passionate about, and then you'll never have to go to work.
Well, Dee Dee, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Women in Retail Talks and sharing your insight.
Well, thank you for picking us.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at womeninretail.com for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.